What is up, guys? Today I'm bringing you a Chimera deck profile. Let's get straight into it. Before we get started, as always, I do have a giveaway. The giveaway for today's video will be a Zombira the Dark. This is a Lost Art sealed promo card. In addition to this giveaway, I have a whole bunch, basically 2 or 3 full Albaz Strike structure decks. Then you can just have cards from there if you want it, but you're definitely gonna get this even if you don't want those cards, but maybe some will help, I don't know. To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is like, comment, and be a subscriber. The comment challenge for this video will be hidden somewhere in it, so as long as you watch till the end, you'll see it. Leave a comment of the comment challenge, you'll be entered into the giveaway, and it is that easy. Now let's talk about the deck. So I did do really well. I did lose the final round to Unchained, mostly to Bricking, but I did lose to Unchained. So that is the reason why I did only get second. But overall, it is a really fun deck. I don't know if it's going to take the place of my main deck, but it is super fun to play, and it's actually not that bad. I'm going to show you 2 different variants of the deck today. The first one being the Prosperity Engine, quote unquote, you could call it, which from beginning to end, including the side deck, is $470, optimized for verified sellers only. And then the other engine I'm going to show you is the Super Poly engine, which once again optimized to verified sellers only. It's only about $331, but if you're pretty healthy on your staples, the core at time of recording is about 130 bucks. It's up on the screen, so whatever that says. And that does include 2 Guardian Chimeras. By the way, if you want to buy this deck box, message me on Instagram. That's really the only reason it's in the video. But anyway, the core that I'm talking about does actually include 2 Guardian Chimeras, and they're like 30 bucks each. You can definitely get away with just one. In my testing in the 2 tournaments that I've done, I've actually only used one. I've never actually had to pull out the second one. The second copy of King does come up quite frequently, but if you want to buy the core, instead of being around 130, it'll be around 100 if you only pick up 1 Guardian Chimera. Now, the second little tournament that I did that I mentioned a second ago was actually a local tournament, and I got like 4th or something. And the reason why, I actually was undefeated, but I got 2 draws. So I knew for a fact I wasn't getting like 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. So I didn't actually stick around to see what place I got. I actually had to leave, so I left, and I didn't even see. If I did get a pack, it was gonna be like 1 pack, maybe 2, so I didn't even stick around to see what the final result of that was. And that was running the Super Poly engine. The 5-round tournament where I lost the final round to Unchained, I was actually running the Prosperity engine, which I personally think is way better, mostly because of Bricking. There's not enough engine cards in this deck to make it like super consistent, so I like Prosperity more. That's just me, in my opinion. The deck only really loses to like Bricking, and if they open like Ash Imperm, for example. Or if you don't have Cross Out or something, one or the other, if they time it right, can actually really hurt you. And then the last thing I want to say before we get into the actual deck profile is right after this video, I'm going to be doing like an in-depth guide to Chimera. So stay tuned for that, or maybe you're here because you saw that video and you want to know what the deck profile is. Either way, let's get right into it. First off, we have the basic Chimera package. Mirror Sword Knight, he is your 1-card combo. We run 3 of him. We also run 3 Gazelles. Very standard. He is a level 4, and if you use him as fusion material for something, you get to search an illusion monster, which we're getting a new illusion monster soon. I'm very excited about that as well. Then we have our level 5. I really wish he was a level 4, but he is way too broken to be that easy and free. When he's normal or special summoned, what he does is he'll search a level 4 beast monster and or a Chimera fusion. So if he gets on the field and you activate his effect and they don't Ash or Imperm you, that's the point where you're officially full combo. But he is super easy to get out, and you would much rather see other engine cards or tech cards in your opening hand, so that is why we run him at 2. Up next, 3 Kotal. He's basically a free copy of Mirror Sword Knight. Discard him and search Mirror Sword Knight. That's pretty much the way it goes, but he can search any monster that lists Chimera fusion. So it really depends on what is in your starting hand. Like if you already have Mirror Sword Knight, pick a different piece and boom, it is free. But no matter what, you kind of want to end with one of him in the grave because he adds protection. So Mirror Sword Knight and Kotal give protection to you while you have a card whose name is Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast on the field. So if either of these guys are on the field, they do have a graveyard effect, and Kotal's banish effect is target protection. If they play any card that targets one of your cards while you control a card whose name is Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, you just banish it and it will be a negate destroy. And then Mirror Sword Knight is an effect monster negate, but not a destroy. So as long as you have one of those 2 cards on field, your opponent activates a monster effect, just banish this guy and it will negate the effect, but won't destroy it. Keep that in mind. If you want it destroyed, and at targets, make sure you use Codal for that. But preferably either at the start of your opponent's turn, during maybe like the draw phase or standby phase, or very early on in their turn, or at the end of your turn, you would like to have both these guys in the grave. And then after that, we have 2 Chimera Fusion. This is our illusion package / Chimera package, and that is it. Next up, we have a branded package. The branded package is very small. It just consists of 2 Fallen Albaz and 3 branded fusion. Everybody knows what these cards do right now. At this point in time, they're not new by any means. And if you open Branded Fusion, let's say you open Branded Fusion and Mirror Sword Knight, you have 2 different engines that are technically full combo. You could technically just be like Branded Fusion, Ash, okay, cool. Now let's do Chimera stuff. I don't know if you'd ever want to do that, but it is an option. And that is actually it for like the non-tech cards, the engine cards, I should say. So let's go into some tech cards. I will leave this right here in the corner. So something that we have an issue with is bricking, so I play 3 Fenrir. It's Interruption, a body on board, and a free search if you need to play, let's say, Super Poly, so you have to discard a card. Or even if you want to go into Lubellion, for example, and activate his effect to get to Mirror Jade or something like that. Fenrir search Fenrir is just a free discard, really. Same reason why Pearly runs it, I suppose, aside from it just being an amazing card. Up next, after that, we have what I did the best with and what I'm going to keep it as, which is Prosperity. We are playing the Prosperity engine. And real quick, what I consider the Prosperity engine is 3 Prosperity, 2 talents. A little bit out of order in regards to how I wanted to like actually film the deck profile. But if you want to play Super Poly instead, it'd be 3 Super Poly there, and then there can be only 1 in this spot. And obviously you can switch things around however you want. But aside from like little changes in the side deck, this is almost exactly what I played in those 2 tournaments, was swapping these top ones for these bottom ones, or vice versa or whatever. And then for Super Poly, obviously you need Super Poly targets, so the Super Poly package has a couple differences in the extra deck and side deck, which I will mention later, but I just wanted to show you that that's where the Super Poly stuff would come in. But let's continue with our tech cards. We did play 3 Crossout Designator. Like I said, actually in my town, it's actually a meme. How do you beat Chimera? The answer is open Ash Imperm. Some people just say Ash Blossom, some people just say Imperm, you know, something like that. It is a very fickle line to go down to get to your end board that you want to be at, so we definitely are playing Crossout. I played 2 DD Crow, 2 Nib, 3 Ash Blossom, and 3 Imperm. If you start with Fenrir, you're actually going to be on your 5th summon when you end your turn, and at that point you might as well try and go into Mirror Jade or something. But without Fenrir, you actually only do 4 summons and have a pretty solid board. So that's kind of the reason for Nib, but Nib's in here anyway because like Rescue Ace is getting really popular at the moment. And if you time it right, it absolutely destroys Unchained. Unchained players will say it doesn't, but it does. Then of course Ash and Imperm cross out targets. DD Crow's not really a cross out target, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess if they could DD Crow your Chimera Fusion or something like that, so you can't add it back. Or one of your illusion monsters, so you don't have that extra layer protection / interruption. But that's it. And then the final card, which I'm really happy about, that might throw some of you off, is I actually played 3 Book of Moon. I know Eclipse is probably the more popular option at the moment, but hear me out. If I go Mirror Sword Knight, effect, tribute for cost, and they Ash me, I'll cross out it, banish an Ash. And then I'm gonna go, that's if they have an Ash, and that's if I have a cross out, obviously. And then I'm gonna go into Baphomet. I'm gonna special summon this guy in defense. Activate his effect. His effect's gonna grab me both of these cards, and now they Imperm. So that is no longer an option. So what I do actually is I'll Book of Moon my own Baphomet, and now Imperm can't resolve and I'll still get my Surge. And since we're playing a fusion deck, even if he's face down, I can still fuse him away. So it is no sweat to me, and it did come up way more than you would think. And by that I mean, I guess in 5 rounds it came up 3 times for sure, maybe 4 times. But it is what it is. That is it for the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck. In the extra deck, we did play 1 Chimera the Illusion Beast, and an uncomfortable amount of people will actually say that they never went into him or never go into him or this or that or blah blah blah. I use him a ridiculous amount because you need at least 2 monsters to fuse into him, but you can use more. And then for every material used for his fusion summon, he gains that many attacks. And he is an illusion monster, which means he cannot destroy cards by battle and he cannot be destroyed by battle, which is absolutely outrageous because he has 3100 attack. And let's say, I don't know, if they have a 5000 attack monster on the field and he has 3 attacks, we're going to attack that monster once. His effect is the classic illusion effect. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by battle. But then his unique effect is at the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can change that opponent's monster attack to 0. also negate its effects. So we'll eat that first damage. This guy's not going to be destroyed, and then we get free 62 damage after that if we use 3 materials for his summon. And none of this is until the end phase, by the way, so that monster's attack is 0, like permanently, and its effects are negated permanently. So I'd say if you're going second, you definitely want him on the field. Going first, you would probably only want one of this dude on the field right next to a Mirror Sword Knight, or if you have the Fenrir and you're not worried about Nib, or you have to cross out or something, and then a Fenrir here, that's probably what you would want going first, and just pass there. Which brings us to number 2. Number 2 is Double Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Both of these monsters, their name becomes Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, which is really important for our illusion monster's banish effect. And this guy really doesn't do much. He does have an on-summon effect where you can rip a card from your opponent's hand, like discard it from their hand during the end phase, which depending on your luck could definitely win a game. And then he has a banish effect. You can banish this guy from the graveyard, but only during your opponent's turn. Then target one beast, fiend, or illusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it, so you can kind of get your plays rotating again. And there is no right or wrong answer as far as who you target, but it is a good way to get that level 5 back on field, so you can reactivate his summon effect and grab yourself another Gazelle and another Chimera Fusion, which is a quick play, by the way. I love that they did that. But those are our Chimera monsters, and then we have 2 Guardian Chimera. We do not run polymerization, so he never reaches a point where he can be untargetable. But he's a really cool card. The only downside about him is you have to use a card from your hand, so you can't super poly into him, and unfortunately super poly doesn't count as a polymerization. In this case, it's not like Cosmo where it says like Cosmo card. It strictly just says polymerization, so that'd be cool if super poly counted and he couldn't be targeted, but that would be a little bit too broken. Then the other downside to this guy is they can't ash him and he won't get to pop, which is unfortunate because his effect is you have to use at least 1 from the field and at least 1 from the hand, and they all have to be all different names. I mentioned that because he does require 3 monsters. And then you get to draw however many you use from your hand, and you get to pop however many you use from the field. But the exact wording of it is you can draw cards equal to the number of cards used as material from the hand, and if you do, destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards you used as material from the field. So if they ash it or do something to where you can't draw, you no longer get to pop, which is fine. But he is 3,300. He is a big boy. Also 33 defense if he does get eclipsed or Book of Moon or something like that. And this is actually it for our Chimera stuff. After that, we have the branded package, which is going to be 2 Mirror Jade. It is a free card with no interruption if you have Branded Fusion, and it is super, super good. The only thing that really gets rid of him, and this is just like to help you guys in the future if you're going against a Mirror Jade, is Fenrir him. So if he's banished face down, his effect can't go off. Yes, he left the field and all that other stuff. So if you normal banish him or normal pop him or anything like that, destroy him by battle, yada yada yada, he's going to destroy your monsters during the end phase, but banish him face down, he won't. And also, since we play Fenrir and cross out, you can cross out Fenrir, so they can't banish your Mirror Jade face down. Just something cool to keep in mind. Up next for the branded package, we do play 1 Rindbrum. Rindbrum is a really good card, and it's definitely needed in the deck because you can use Fallen of Albaz and then a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster, and we do play Beast. And then if they have an annoying extra deck monster and it activates his effect, you have a quick effect where you can negate that and then return 1 monster from the field to the hand. And that is non-targeting, by the way, which is very important. And then he does have an effect where you can quick effect, you can target 1 Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard, special summon either that monster, Fallen of Albaz, or this card, and then banish the other. So this guy is just absolutely insane. He has a lot of utility in just 1 card. So I guess technically you kind of want him to be the first one you get out. But after that, we have the light and the dark. Everybody knows what Lebellion and Albion does. They're both basically a free Mirror Jade. The only difference between these 2 cards is, well, one requires a light, the dark requires a light, and then the light requires a dark. And Mirror Sword Knight is a light monster, so that's how we get into the dark. And then DD Crow is a dark monster, which is how we get into the light. One of the ways, I should say, for each of these guys. The only real difference is Albion does have a graveyard effect during the end phase. You get to add or set a branded spell or trap directly from your deck, which is really cool during the end phase. And then the other key difference is Lebellion requires you to discard in order to get that extra fusion summon off, but the materials are shuffled. And then Albion doesn't require a discard, but the materials are banished. And then both those guys just go into Mirror Jade. After that, we have Mirror Jade pitch material to activate his effect, which is Alba Lenatus, or Lenatus, I should say. I think that's how you say it. How do you guys say this? Anyway, the Abyss Dragon. I don't think you're ever going to go into this guy, but he has a graveyard effect, so if you discard him from your extra deck, or send, I should say, to activate Mirror Jade's effect. Then he does have an in-phase effect, and that effect is you get to add 1 polymerization normal spell or fusion normal spell from your deck to your hand, so Branded Fusion. So he's good for that. I don't think you'll ever go into him. Up next, we have Magnum the Reliever. I love this card. I wish I went into him more or could go into him more, but he really honestly never comes up that much. Since I picked up this deck, I've only summoned him twice, and that's in practicing as well. I'm counting that. But first of all, he's really good just because of what he requires. 1 monster special summon from the extra deck and 1 monster in hand. If you're not running talents and you want to put a card in, you should probably take this guy out and put a different card in. The times I have got him out is because I talents to take, took an extra deck monster, and then fused it away. So he's really helpful in that regard. And then his effect is you can target 1 polymerization spell or fusion spell in your graveyard. So any of them, even if you run Super Poly. We have the 3 spells, Super Poly, Branded Fusion, and Chimera Fusion. Any of those guys, you place that card on the bottom of your deck and then draw 1. Really good to recycle Branded Fusion. I mean, Chimera Fusion kind of recycles itself. It's built into the card. But if you don't need a draw, he actually has another effect. You can banish 1 polymerization spell or 1 fusion spell from your graveyard, target 1 card on the field, and destroy it. And last thing you got to keep in mind about him is you can use each effect once per turn. So you can do both if you really wanted to. After that, we have 1 Titan Clad. I could have won an entire match if I used this guy's effect. I summoned him and did not use his effect. But to be fair, I am a little bit newer to the deck and to Branded as a whole. Branded was before my time, I should say. He's another target to kind of just send over here with Alba Lenatus, the Abyss Dragon. He has a graveyard effect once he's sent, or not once he's sent, it is during the end phase. If this card is in the graveyard because it was sent to this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon 1 Dogmatica monster or 1 Fallen of Albaz from your deck. Now that I'm reading him, I actually did activate his effect, but I added it, when in reality what I should have done was I should have special summoned the Fallen of Albaz, because then I was actually up against a Sword Soul Synchro monster. So if I special summoned the Fallen of Albaz, I could have used that and Fallen of Albaz based off Fallen of Albaz normal summon effect or special summon effect to fuse them both into a Mirror Jade. That definitely would have won the match, but time did get called, so it's kind of irrelevant, but I did end in a draw. I completely forgot about that until I was reading this guy. After that, we have 1 Link Karibo. He's prosperity food, but could come in handy. And then 1 Zeus, really spicy. This actually came up 2 separate times against Pearly, but it could work against like any deck. But right now it's like Pearly and Exo Sister. Those are like the big Ixie decks at the moment. Talent to take one of their monsters, attack with it, and just to destroy it or whatever, because we really don't have anything to link it off into. So attack, eat some battle damage or something like that. And now it's off the field, which is fine. But if the attack goes through, you just lay a Zeus on it. One story is actually really funny. It happened against Pearly. They went into a 2-wipe Zeus. They didn't have anything. I went first and I negated pretty much everything. They got 2 level 1s on field. Went into that level 1 magician monster where the first time it'd be destroyed by battle, it's not. Attacked me, ate the battle damage, and then went downward Zeus. So it was a 2-wipe Zeus, and they did get both the wipes off when I talents to take. I kind of baited the first one, and then they changed Zeus, obviously, to talents. But I took their Zeus, attacked with it, and just put my Zeus right on top of it. But we are playing Prosperity, so like these things can easily be discarded. And I guess I probably should mention what you want to get rid of for Prosperity if you open it. But before I do that, I did want to show you, if you run the Super Poly package, you would change both these guys out for Garura and Mudragon. And that's the swap you would want to make here, is get rid of these guys, because most likely they'll never came up. I've never used Link Karibo. But yeah, that's the swap you want to make there. And it is really cool. So the way I order my extra deck is kind of similar to this, actually, this exact lineup. But if I Prosperity, it's most likely going to be for 6. And what I'll do is I'll get rid of those 2, get rid of these guys, get rid of this guy, and then you have a choice. What do you want to do? And there's an option for the 5th one, which would be one of the Guardian Chimeras, one of the Mirror Jades, or the Lubellion, because Albion comes up way more. And you don't really want to discard if you don't have to. So your option for the 6th slot is there, or you Prosperity for 3, and if you get a second one, you just do that exact same thing. But that is it for the extra deck. Let's look at the side deck. The side deck is really spicy, but it's really basic. It's just 3 Evenlies. I think Evenly's probably going to have to go in, you know, every side deck if Rescue Ace continues to grow and get insane. Up next after that is D-Barrier, because Pearly does exist, and we also need it for a crossout target, so we may as well just play it. We do run 2 DD Crows, but we also run the Bestial package. I actually want to get rid of Magnemut and go 3 Druis Worm. Druis Worm just comes in handy. I mean, Magnemut during the end phase, he'll search you Druis Worm, which is cool, I guess. But in this deck, Druis Worm just works better. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, it doesn't matter why. Just as long as he's sent, he can be destroyed, you know, anything. Just sent, like through Zeus, for example, through Zeus. If he's sent from the field to the graveyard, his effect is actually, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls and send that to the graveyard as well. So it's non-destruction removal, but it does target. So I don't know. Out of all those cases of 10s I opened, I sold off everything and now I need one more Druid Swarm. But yeah, that's what I would do. But Magnemut's still good. Regardless, we play the Bestial package like that. After that, we need some back row removal. So I do 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Cosmic Cyclone. Really good going second. And this deck has so much space to take things out and put other like tech cards in. If you're going second and you don't need back row removal and you do 3 evenly, 2 Lightning Storm, and then throw in like 2 D barriers for crossed out targets, I mean, you're probably gonna win if you draw 1 or 2 of those. But it is what it is. Last but not least, we have 1 Nib and 1 DD Crow. I guess the way I should phrase it is our 3rd Nib and then our 3rd DD Crow. I didn't really know what to put in here. I thought about Change of Heart, but DD Crow's too good, even against Pearly. Like if Pearly's on field and they target a spell card, DD Crow actually will banish a card from the graveyard, not necessarily a monster. It doesn't have to be just a monster. It can be any card. So if Pearly activates its effect and targets the spell card that it wants to use for an Ixie material into one of their bigger cats, you just DD Crow it. And honestly, I started putting in DD Crows for Unchained, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that it actually works against a lot of decks. But that is it for the deck profile. I will show you guys 1 combo in this video so I don't keep y'all waiting, and then after this video there will be a full guide in depth to this deck, the Chimera, and I'll be doing the prosperity build of it from here on, so just keep that in mind. But Super Poly is a great card and can win games. My issue with it is consistency. But yeah, let's show you guys a combo. The comment challenge for today's video is going to be, which artwork do you like more, the Chimera the Illusion Beast or Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts? Let's get back to the video. This is going to be the basic 1-card combo that literally everybody uses, and it can be done with either of these cards. You can prosperity into these cards, or hopefully you just started with them. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to start with Kodal. Kodal, you discard and you search him, but we want Kodal in the grave anyway, so I'm just going to start with Kodal. We are going to activate Kodal, discard to add ourselves a Mirror Sword Knight. What he actually does is you discard this card to add 1 monster that mentions Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand. The target will be Mirror Sword Knight. Normal Mirror Sword Knight, and I've actually had 2 people, one person tried to imperm this and the other person tried to effect Veiler it. He's actually a quick effect and he tributes himself as cost. So activate Mirror Sword Knight, and what he does is he will special summon 1 monster from the deck that mentions Chimera Fusion. Our target for that will always be, well, not always, but in this case for this, starting 1-card combo, will be Big Winged Baphomet. Here's where Ash and Imperm can absolutely shut you down. We're going to activate Big Winged Baphomet's trigger effect on summon and grab ourselves a Gazelle and a Chimera Fusion. Now that these are in hand, we're going to activate Chimera Fusion, fusing away Gazelle and Baphomet. Now that these guys are in the grave and this guy's on field, we now have some chains to do. We're going to go Chain Link 1 Gazelle. When Gazelle uses fusion material, you can activate his effect to add an illusion monster from your deck to your hand. We're going to do Chain Link 2 Big Wing Baphomet targeting Mirror Sword Knight. That's basically just a monster reborn. And then Chain Link 3 mostly just to block these in. If he gets negated, it's fine. Will be Chimera the King of Phantom Beasts, and he'll just rip a card at random during the end phase, send it from hand to graveyard from the opponent. That is important, I guess. So let's resolve backwards. Now we get to rip a card during the end phase, so remember the end phase. Big Wing Baphomet is going to special summon Mirror Sword Knight, and then we have Gazelle, who is going to add an illusion monster. Here's something to keep in mind. If you started with Mirror Sword Knight and not Kodal, you want to add a Kodal here. What you're going to do is you're going to discard him once he's in your hand and just search a Mirror Sword Knight. You just want a copy of him in the grave. If you started with Kodal, you can just grab another Mirror Sword Knight. It is totally fine. On resolution of everything, if your opponent has nothing, activate Chimera Fusion to add back. Then we are going to set 1 and pass. And you can sit here for, as long as you want. He's not going to do anything. Mirror Sword Knight can't be destroyed by battle and can't destroy other cards by battle. So, I mean, it is what it is. He's just there. But we do have a Chimera Fusion set with 1 monster in hand. The only downside is it is not a different named card, so we cannot go into Guardian Chimera at this exact point in time. But we do have a negate destroy as long as it targets from Cornfeld Kodal in the graveyard. And then it's very easy to get Mirror Sword Knight in the grave. Let's say standby, main phase. They want to go ahead and use a spell or trap card or a monster. We can activate Mirror Sword Knight's effect, banish to special, and if we want to search like way more, like get a lot of searches in during your opponent's turn, you can. Just go into another copy of Big Wing Baphomet, activate Baphomet's effect, grab another copy of Gazelle and Chimera Fusion. You don't want to thin the deck too much because for your branded line, you do need a lighter dark monster. So you would need a Mirror Sword Knight in your grave, or not grave, your deck, I'm sorry. Or if you wanted to bring out, let's say, the Light Dragon, you would need a DD Crow or something like that. But there's no way to search DD Crow, so it's fine. Now on resolution of that, these two guys are back in your hand, and we have both protections here on the field. Going second, you would probably want to activate Chimera Fusion and go into the big guy. Well, big illusion monster, I should say. Or what you can do if you went first and now your opponent is playing is once they get 2 cards on the field, exactly 2 cards, or I mean, it could be 3 or 4, just not 1, activate Chimera Fusion. And we're going to use Gazelle from hand and then these 2 guys on the field and go into our copy of Guardian Chimera. Now we have some chain links. I would like to chain block Guardian Chimera. Chain blocking doesn't exist. That's not an official term at all, but a lot of cards say when versus if, but that's a whole can of worms for a different video, or probably never, to be honest. So we're going to activate Big Wing Baphomet, target Mirror Sword Knight, Chainlink 1 or 2. Let's do him, Chainlink 1, Big Wing Baphomet, target Mirror Sword Knight, Chainlink 2, and Gazelle's effect, Chainlink 3. Now they can ash you or something if they want, but if not, it is what it is. We can go ahead and add ourselves our last Mirror Sword Knight, but keep in mind that is going to keep you outside of the branded package if you want to branded fusion into the Dark Dragon, but it is totally fine. That being said, what I would like to do here is we still have 2 Codals in deck, and Codal can get us to Mirror Sword Knight, so let's leave Mirror Sword Knight in there because we don't know what we're going to draw, and we don't know the other cards in our hand because we didn't draw them. Now these are the cards in hand. We'll go down to Chainlink 2, which is Baphomet, targeting Mirror Sword Knight, bring him back. His effect's been used, so we can't do anything, but he is a body on board. And then Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera is going to let us draw 1 card and then destroy 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field. I'm only using cards relevant for this demonstration, but we did draw, you know, a Mirror Sword Knight or a Codal or whatever. So it is what it is, but that's kind of, you know, the main combo that you want to go down. And just so you guys can see, we do have 1 graveyard effect that we have not used. Let's just go ahead and use it. We'll use Chimera the King of Phantom Beast effect. We're going to banish him and special summon a Beast, Fiend, or Illusion monster. We will choose Gazelle because we haven't used his effect this turn on summon. Bring this guy back out, and now on summon we can activate Gazelle's effect, which will let us at, what, did we already go through it? Oh, we already went through both Baphomet, so never mind, we are not going to activate his effect. And this is kind of our field at the moment, and this is our hand. So these are the cards we went through just off of 1 card, which I think is a pretty good amount. And then you got to keep in mind, you had 4 more cards in your hand. A lot of interruption right there and whatnot. But during the in-depth video, I'll kind of show you what you'd want to do going second as well, because going second is very big, and there'll be test hands and stuff, of course. Regardless, that is it for the video, you guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to enter the giveaway, and I will catch y'all next time.